All right, everybody, so we're going to take a look at our slope here. The first thing that we want to do is identify the 2 points that we have. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left and up 1. That's -4, 1. Then we have 1, 2 to the left and down 1. That's -2, -1. So whenever you're starting off here, always a good place to go. And we're going to subtract our y values. So y minus -1. Subtract our x values, -4 minus -2. And then from here, we can add up on top, just punch that into your calculator. Which gets you 2 over -2. So we're going to see a slope here of -1. For our second question here, we want to identify, do we have parallel, perpendicular, or neither? So the first thing that we want to see is, are we having something that has a match for our slope term? So for our first line, we have, thought I had this on the highlighter, -5. For our second line, we have 1/5. So the first condition for perpendicular is that we would have to have opposite signs. And the second condition is reciprocal. So if we are comparing 5, which is 5/1, to -1/5, we're going to see we do have opposite signs and they are reciprocals. So we can say that they are perpendicular because opposite signs and reciprocal. For our second equation here, we want to again take a look at our two slopes. We have 2 and 4. So comparing 2 to 4. So they don't have opposite signs. We know that they are not perpendicular. And they're not the same slopes, they're not parallel. So they are neither, because they're not the same, and they're not perpendicular. So sometimes it's okay. You might not have a match. For our last equation, we have to identify a line that is perpendicular and also passes through this point. So the first thing we have to do is identify what is the slope of our starting point. So taking a look at what we have here, we have -2, 1, and then we have 1, 2, 3 to the left, 3 down. So subtract our y values. It's going to get us an answer of 4/1. So our original slope is m equals 4/1. So that means our perpendicular slope is going to be -1/4. So when we are looking at y equals mx plus b, we know that our slope term is going to be -1/4. And they give us this point, x, y, -2, 1. So if x, we can make that yellow, and y, we can make that +1. So plugging in +1 for y, and then plugging in -2 for x. We just have to finish up by solving for b. So we can use our calculator for this. -1/4 times -2 is going to give us +1/2 plus b. Subtract 1/2 from each side. 1 minus 1/2 is b is equal to 1/2 actually. So we can go back to our original equation up here, and we can have y equals -1/4x, and then it's going to be plus 1/2, because we now know our slope. We calculated that below, and we now know our b term. We also solved for that below. So if these questions aren't making sense to you, again, this is just an answer video. The actual skill going over that, if you go back to the guided practice for 2.3, that is the place where you will find the review. But again, this video is just to go over the answers to these questions. So as always, if you have any questions, let us know. Thanks for watching, and we're here to help.